And we're bringing in our next guest. Joining us is Santiago Vidal Calvo, a policy analyst at the Manhattan Institute. Santiago was born in Caracas, Venezuela, and immigrated to the United States in 2021. Santiago, thank you so much for joining us today. Now, President Trump met with Venezuelan opposition leader María Corina Machado at the White House today. In your view, what has this meeting achieved?
Hey, Don, thank you so much for the invite again. So I think this meeting was long overdue. María Corina Machado needed to come here to the White House and to the United States to meet with Trump and present her case of why she's the right leader to lead to Venezuela. The reality is that, as I see in the news, María Corina Machado has given her Nobel Peace Prize to President Trump. Not only a sign of goodwill to the Venezuelan cause, but also a recommendation, a reminder that the cause of freedom in Venezuela is way more important than an award. I think María Corina Machado, what she has done here is rally Trump to her cause to make sure that a transition happens within the next couple of months or the rest of the year, and that Delcy Rodriguez does not control the narrative of where Venezuela is going to be in the future.
So, Santiago, we know Machado went into hiding in 2024 after being disqualified by the regime there. Trump has previously said it would be very tough for her to be the leader of Venezuela. What is your take on this? How do people in Venezuela regard her?
So first of all, let's dissect the question by a couple of steps. First one is Trump is partially right on what he's saying about Machado. Machado is widely popular among Venezuelans. She won a primary of the opposition with almost 96% of the vote. And then she put a surrogate person because she was barred from running in an election and a general election for the presidency. Okay. And with that surrogate in the election, she still won the election with 67% of the vote. So we're talking about a widely popular person here, and that does not take into account 9 million people abroad, Venezuelans abroad in the diaspora, that would vote for her most likely. So we're talking about a very widely popular person. However, the regime still controls most of the institutions around the country. They control the electorate power, they control the judicial power, they control the military, which is probably the most important aspect here. So while they control all of those institutions, putting Machado in power would be setting her up for failure. And what Trump wants to prevent to do is he wants to give the tools to the Delcy Rodriguez regime and to the rest of the Maduro regime to dismantle themselves. He's essentially giving the tools from pressuring the oil markets to liberating the political prisoners to a lot of other requests that the United States are doing to dismantle the regime within and then have an opportunity to put an election there where Machado is most likely going to be the winner of that election.
Okay, so you're saying the U.S.'s long-term plan for Venezuela is actually not for for Rodriguez to run the country. It's actually to dismantle the regime and have somebody else. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. I mean, the White House, Caroline Leavitt, was in the White House today. The press secretary was there saying that there was going to be an election, or they were thinking of having an election in Venezuela as part of the transition process. I truly believe that Marco Rubio, as Secretary of State, and Donald Trump as president know the case of Venezuela very well, and they know that an election must happen for them to legitimize the process of a transition, first within the United States, but also around the world. And they most likely know that María Corina Machado will be the victor of that election.
How easy will it be for a new government to take control in Venezuela? Are there structures of power or influence that are still loyal to Maduro, so much so that they would try to cause trouble or object to the new government significantly?
It's going to be extremely hard, and I'm going to explain you why. First, the military is still completely controlled by the Cartel de los Soles, or the Cartel of the Suns, which is a criminal organization, the drug part of the regime. So that's the first step, to dismantle that drug organization. Yes, they removed Maduro, but the regime is still largely in place. There are still a couple of figures that are very important for a transition, like Diosdado Cabello, who is the Minister of Interior. You have Vladimir Padrino Lopez, who is the Minister of Justice, but also the head of the military. You have the Rodriguez, which are the true brothers, Delcy, who is currently the president, and Jorge, who is currently the president of the National Assembly. All of these key figures are extremely important for having a transition. And Trump must find a way to either remove him from the power or to move them out of the country with a deal. And most likely what's going to happen is either the United States is going to run out of patience if Venezuelan regime does not cooperate with the terms that the United States is put in, or they're going to offer a deal to have them extradited from Venezuela to another place where they can enjoy the billions they have stolen.
Okay, Santiago, final question. What is your optimism level for the future of Venezuela, and what does that future look like?
Well, currently I'm incredibly optimistic, and I'm going to explain you why. In 27 years, we never had somebody fighting on our side like President Trump has fought for Venezuelan and the cause for freedom in Venezuela in the last months. We have had a pressure campaign in the last 6 months where we led that pressure campaign and we finished it with Maduro's arrest. This was not an arrest of a legitimate leader around the world. This was an indicted narco-terrorist that the United States saw the opportunity to take him out of the country and put him in American justice. And to see Maduro in jail, first, is extremely happy for Venezuelans, but second, it's finally the end of a cycle where thousands of political prisoners have never been given the chance to face that same justice and prove their innocence. But Maduro is going to now face American justice to show all the crimes that he has committed against the Venezuelan people, but most importantly, against Americans too. People here in America forget that Maduro is the reason why Jocelyn Nungaray and Laken Riley are dead. 2 Americans here that were killed by the Tren de Aragua. Thousands of Americans more killed by the cocaine trade that Venezuela has been putting here in the United States. So Maduro is going to face justice, but I'm incredibly optimistic that President Trump and Marco Rubio know the answer to the Venezuelan problem.
And me as well, Santiago. I'm very hopeful for Venezuela in addition. Thank you so much for talking to us today. A pleasure.
Thank you, Don, for the invitation.